Washington offers a block. The blitz comes from the other side. D'Qwell Jackson.
And now again, D'Qwell Jackson.
You're listening to Bleav in Colts with co-hosts Lawrence Owen and D'Qwell Jackson, bringing you the latest and greatest about the shoe.
Brady, middle, intercepted by D'Qwell Jackson. Play fake, Bryant, intercepted, picked off at the 5, touchdown D'Qwell Jackson.
What's going on, Colts Nation and NFL fans? I am back. I'm Lawrence Owen. With me, as usual, is my guy, D'Qwell Jackson. We are here with Bleav in Colts, and this is the Super Bowl edition. We're going to talk about the big game. D'Qwell, how excited are you about this game specifically?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. On one hand, because I spent so much time in the AFC South, or AFC North rather, and playing the Bengals and beating up on the Bengals for a very long time, to see them in the Super Bowl right now is just beyond me. But Joe Burrow, you have to give him his credit, how he's been able to quarterback this team and pretty much be the point guard of this team and put them in a position to ultimately win Super Bowl 56. So there's a lot to talk about there. But we didn't talk about this, right? We're matching. This is the first time in a long time we've actually wearing a similar shirt. So I just realized that. I was like, wait a minute, we're matching right now, So, hey, you know what? This is what it's all about for the Super Bowl. So
we'll see. We'll see if our predictions match, but I don't know about all. We'll see. There's all kind of storylines with both quarterbacks, right? You got the Joe Burrow situation where, basically 1.5 years of play time, and then he's in the Super Bowl. And then you got Mr. Matt Stafford, who his entire career wasn't even able to win a playoff game.
No.
And now, wham, straight to the Super Bowl as soon as he gets traded out. That's just a lot to cover. But hey, when it comes to the Super Bowl, you have a lot of people betting on it. A lot of money is going to be pushed on this Super Bowl, I promise you. And the big game is finally here as we hit Super Bowl Sunday with the last game of the football season. As always, BetOnline has you covered from odds, scores, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land. BetOnline is the number one spot for all things NFL betting in 2022. And it's not just football. BetOnline's basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC odds coverage is the best in the business. From sports right down to your favorite casino games, BetOnline is your number one wagering destination. Head to the BetOnline today or use your mobile device to sign up and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV. To get started. The fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports and play your favorite games. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, I realized something today I did not realize before. For some, maybe I realized it in my old age. My brain just forgot. But I didn't realize that 1 week a team practices, and then the next week, the other team practices when it comes up to the Super Bowl. I didn't know that. Is that something new?
Wait. What do you mean?
Okay, so I'm looking at the injury. I'm looking at the injury reports for the Super Bowl, and the Cincinnati Bengals have their injury report completely done Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
And then you go to the Rams, and all they have is yesterday's up. They still have yet Thursday and Fridays to come up.
Oh, so I think, and I don't know this to be true. I don't know this to be true again. I think they alternate. I think they practice the same day, but just at a later time. Is that I'm not sure. Maybe because you're right. I saw the Rams report or the Bengals report, right? Or
yeah, the Bengals is completely done and everything, and it's showing who's questionable, who's not.
Right. It's tricky. The Super Bowl, the rules change every year. It's hard unless you're actually on those teams or you're a significant other of those teams. The little small details of like for instance, there's this story, and I never experienced it because I've never played in the Super Bowl, but for the majority of the beginning of the week, when you're in the Super Bowl hosting city, you stay in one hotel, right? And that's where your family, friends, and fans kind of know where you are because everyone has different media obligations. But the later part of the week, teams typically move further away from the noise and the festivities of what the Super Bowl brings in any host city. So again, the practice schedule in the middle of that, I'm sure alternates between different locations or what have you. I heard earlier today that because of the win and because of the practice the Rams wanted, they were moving from their designated practice facility to some other facility somewhere in California that basically didn't have as much wind, so they can throw the ball and the practice could be more crisp. I mean, coaches during this time, they get very, you really see who's superstitious. Like coaches are very protective about practices and where you're practicing and who's watching. And for obvious reasons, in the past with the Patriots and Spygate and every other type of gate there was. So during this time, it gets really, really interesting in terms of how each team approaches the Super Bowl, where they practice schedule, and will they allow guys to actually enjoy being at the Super Bowl? And I think a lot of veteran coaches actually allow their players the beginning of the week not to have a curfew, basically work as if you're back home. Like when you're home in your respective city, you don't have curfews at your own house. You're a grown man, for Christ's sake. So, so a lot of coaches will say, okay, let's get there earlier. Let's get all the excitement out. Go enjoy being what it feels like to be in the Super Bowl. But at this certain date, this certain time, we have curfew. We're about business. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. So yeah, it's interesting. You know what else is interesting? And I fell victim to this about this Joe Burrow conversation, this whole narrative that somehow, some way, we're talking about him as if he's the underdog. You know, this guy has done nothing but he started Ohio State. He transfers to LSU. He wins the Heisman. He wins the national title game. He's the number 1 pick of the draft, but somehow, some way, he's the underdog. That notion has been far gone along. When he decided to transfer to go to LSU and win a Heisman, win a national title, that label, we can't talk about him as if he's an underdog. And somehow, some way, I get this notion that because of his team and the Bengals and what have you, that his play, what he's done this year, he's seems to be an underdog for whatever reason. I don't know if you agree on that or what, or am I just making that up?
What's going on, everybody? This episode is brought to you by Ultra Game. Ultra Game is officially licensed by the NFL. Ultra Game NFL is a reintroduction to the classic NFL fan gear, boasting innovative design and fabric updates for the fresh fits for today's stadium goers that appeal to everyone. And if you use the link in the description right now, you get this great Ultra Game NFL Men's Sherpa lined full fleece hoodie sweatshirt. That's right. And this full soft fleece hoodie with Sherpa polyester lining ensures comfort and warmth in the cold weather. Length and fits as perfect as a layering piece for any physical activity. Just make sure you use the link in the description. That way you could get your Ultra Game Men's Sherpa full lined zip fleece hoodie sweatshirt at a discounted price. Let's get back to the video. Hey Colts fans, thanks for watching D'Qwell and I here on Bleav in Colts. While you're at this, please take a moment to smash the like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, tag that notification bell so that you are notified next time we upload a video or go live so that you can join in the conversation. Don't forget you can share this stream. That would help us out a ton. If you enjoy this, share it. All you got to do is go right over here and click the share button, little red share button down here underneath, and share it to your favorite social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, doesn't matter. Thank you so much. On behalf of myself and D'Qwell Jackson, have a good one. Enjoy the rest of the show. Oh, I not only see him as an underdog. I mean, it's okay. So I don't. The underdog statement stands.
Mhm.
I think the Rams are favored, so
Yeah.
that traditionally
Yeah.
puts them as an underdog.
Mhm.
But the inexperience and getting into the limelight and stuff like that might
Yeah.
affect a young player, that I assume is some part of what you're talking about as well. Where you think, well, this is a young quarterback who's barely had any time in the NFL, let alone to play in any big important games, right?
Mhm.
Well, he just played at his most important game of his whole life,
Right.
just 2 weeks ago, right? And won.
Yeah.
So that's important. Now, the Super Bowl is a different animal. We all know this. You
Yeah.
got all the media in your face 24/7,
Yeah.
and I don't think that the NFL is going to allow you to go, I'm just here so I don't get fined. You
Right.
know what
Right.
I mean?
The classic Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Right.
But um so but he handles himself very, very well. He
Yeah.
really does. And I agree with you on the aspect of the man's played in big games in his life.
Mhm.
People go, well, college is just college. Do you realize, I mean, those of you who watch the NFL and not college stadiums are
Oh,
packed and
yeah.
they
They're
are
bigger than
huge.
yes, they're bigger than most NFL stadiums.
Exactly, right? Especially in the South, right? In
Mhm.
the South, you got
Yeah.
100,000 seat stadiums out down there, right?
Right. Right.
A- and it nationally worldwide televised,
Yeah.
like your
They're
champions,
legit rock
yeah,
stars. They're famous before they ever
yeah,
walk into the NFL. Everyone knows who they are.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and in this situation, when I'm looking at him, and I think, is this going to affect Joe Burrow, mentally? And all I can think of him is right after the championship, they got the picture of him sitting in that chair,
Mhm.
lean back with a cigar in his mouth, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I'm like,
Right.
I don't think anything would affect this young man.
Yeah.
I really don't.
It's interesting you say that. I was watching ESPN First Take. I believe it was today, and Kurt Warner was on, and Stephen A. Smith was talking about how Joe Burrow and the Bengals are playing with house money,
Hmm.
and that basically there is no pressure. And Kurt Warner's response to that was he respected Stephen A. Smith. He respected his comment where he was coming from, but he was absolutely off on this one. He's like, and Kurt Warner, obviously, he's played in the Super Bowl. He would know better than most people. The way he explained it is if the Super Bowl is unlike any other game you've ever been a part of. You alluded to it a second ago, the media attention. You're the only game that's going to be on. You're the only quarterback that's going to be there's only one other quarterback. All the immense pressure that you don't think about, the external pressure that you don't think about, it's going to affect you. The plan is how if you allow it to creep up and affect your play. So he brought this different perspective, but even I didn't know about just the different pressures of being in a game like this. You wake up, you dreamed your entire life from a young kid, ever since you strapped on a helmet and played this game about this moment, and now it's happening. And I couldn't help but go back to the AFC Championship game, the biggest game I'd ever played in many years ago. And I remember it felt different
Hmm.
from being in the locker room. I give an example. Throughout the regular season, from a player standpoint, the beat reporters come to your lockers after the game, right? So you get used to that type of that that feel, that attention. You expect it. But in the AFC Championship game, we were going to podiums. You had to be requested. So if they wanted to speak to Lawrence Owens, you had to go to the podium when you have a bunch of lights flashing on you and you're standing like you're giving a presentation. It's the same people that you've talked to all year long. It's a different feel to it. It puts more pressure on it. And people start to dig deep into your stories, and they have time to talk more about. So it was a different feel, man, that I absolutely embraced. But I can only imagine, playing in the Super Bowl, and for a team that's as young as the Cincinnati Bengals, for Joe Burrow, who just is Joe Cool, Joe Burr, whatever you want to call him, the fact that he was able to win a game after being sacked 9 times, and I think he has an uncanny ability to move on to the next play. Because most quarterbacks that I played against that were those high-profile guys, if they got hit multiple times, they were going to let the ref know about it. They were going to let the offensive line know about it, and you knew you had him at that point. Joe Burrow doesn't seem to have that. He doesn't seem to let that bother him. However he deals with it, he just goes out and makes plays, and a ton of those plays have been off script because of the inability of his offensive line, who, quite frankly, is going to have a
bit of an overhaul.
Yeah, they have the biggest task this upcoming Sunday with Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, Von Miller.
Oh,
this is going to be a huge task for this O-line and Joe Burrow, but I think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a pretty close game that people don't intend it to be. For some people, who don't intend it to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. At the beginning of the year, as soon as Matt Stafford went to the Rams, I said they're my favorites in the NFC now. I think they're the best team in the NFC. They're my pick to go to the Super Bowl for the NFC.
Yeah.
But going back to, the Super Bowl being a different animal when it comes to sports, it is the most watched event, not sporting event.
Yes.
Most watched event in the entire world.
Yes.
Over 100 million people, 102 million people watched it last year. 102 million live. Oh my goodness. Right. And that's something that just those numbers alone could get into your head. You know what I mean?
It's getting into my head. I'm not even playing again.
Right.
Gives me chills thinking about it.
Oh my goodness. And you got to just kind of push that off to the side and just be like, you know what? Block everything out. What's on the field is what's in front of you. But I mean, that's what they say, but I'm 100% sure it is harder to do than just say.
I just remember, so normally in a regular season game, there's a really quick turnaround with halftime. You know this. There's a 10-minute from the whistle blows, from the time you kick the ball off or receive the ball, there's 10 minutes. So by the time you go in the locker room, go take a leak, get with your coach, go through your corrections, and you're back out on the field. With halftime, you spend I don't know what the time is. I think it may be 20, 30 minutes. I'm not sure, but it's not like any other game. And obviously you can hear what's going on outside, and this year, you have Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar. This is a full concert, like it is every halftime of Super Bowl. So there's a lot of different things from a player standpoint that just from a organizational standpoint, just from the timing of it all, it's different. It really is. And every celebrity is going to be in town. Everyone that you've ever grown up with, they're watching the game. I mean, this event is just what it is. It's an event. And early on, probably the first 5 minutes of this game, we're probably going to see some sloppy play from both teams. It's only natural. It's only right, because you have to get in the flow of the game. And I don't think you ever really not think about you playing in the Super Bowl. And when I played in the AFC Championship game, that's all I could. Every play, I was like, every time I was on the sideline, I was like, man, this is the AFC Championship game. Like, you never think about what game it is in the regular season. It's just the opponent, right? You're trying to make adjustments. And, and I prided myself on being a pretty calm person, but those games there, man, I've never had a chance to experience it, but I've experienced it through other teammates of mine that's played, and it's a heck of a feat. And when you win, it makes it that much sweeter.
So we talked about Joe Burrow and how this could affect it. Let's talk about Matt Stafford, the guy who, for all those years in Detroit had that hanging over his head. People say he just can't win important games.
Yeah.
He's a stud in the regular season, but just can't do it in the postseason. Most of the time, let's be fair, ladies and gentlemen, he didn't get to the postseason most of the time. I mean, he didn't have a team around him. But getting to the Super Bowl, has he erased that, or does he need to win the Super Bowl to get that monkey off his shoulder?
I think the way this team was built in the last few years, making a splash and get rid of Jared Goff, which was a big decision from Sean McVay's part in that front office, because Jared Goff, you remember this, he led this team to their first Super Bowl underneath Sean McVay. So I think this is this season will be a loss if they don't win the Super Bowl, because of the guys that Odell Beckham, who's come over to pair with Cooper Kupp. We forget about Van Jefferson, who's been a very good asset for them. We don't know if he's going to play or not. But you look on the defensive side of the ball, you look at all the tools they have there, and then you added Matthew Stafford was the cherry on top to really connect this team together and really flourish underneath McVay's offense and his brilliant mind. I think and we saw a little bit of this towards the end of the season, how Matthew Stafford will convert back to his Detroit days. And I think if Matthew Stafford can go out and be the point guard, distribute the ball where it needs to be, and rely on his experience and his football IQ as opposed to his arm strength, if he can go out and do that, I think the Rams will win this game. However, I do think it'll be close. But if Matthew Stafford can rely on his experience and football IQ and not put his team in trouble by just relying on that arm strength, I think you got a chance. But if we see, that arm arrogance and just thinking he can make every throw on the field, being in a big moment game where obviously, I think it will, if he can go out and win this game, it will erase some of those doubts that he can't win the big one. Clearly, what went on in Detroit was unlike anything else. And 1 year with a good team around him, with a great offensive minded coach, he's in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think before this season, he was 0-3 in the playoffs, and now he's 3-0 in the playoffs and potentially can win the Super Bowl 56. So you have to give credit when credit is due. But, again, the only thing that concerns me about Matthew Stafford is his arm strength and him relying too much on that and not reading what the defense gives him. But I do think this changes the narrative about him and potentially if he's a Hall of Famer or not.
Yeah, I mean, well, go back to the NFC Championship. He played a phenomenal game. Had there not been drops by all of those major players, Odell Beckham Jr. had the drop. That ended up being an interception. You had Van Jefferson dropped. You had uncharacteristic Cooper Kupp drops. You had a drop by someone I never even heard of in the back of the end zone when he was wide open, right? We all remember that play. There was drops galore in that game. And Matt was just hitting him dead on. Bam, bam, bam. If he plays like that in this game, like you're saying, just playing that, hit your open guy.
Yeah.
Matt Stafford's going to destroy the Cincinnati Bengals defense. I really do think that. But like you said, if Cincinnati can get in his head and he feels like, I got to put this team on my shoulder and make, tight window throws all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There could be a chance that Cincy could really, put it on you. You could see a game like what you was talking about earlier in the season where I think he had a few three interceptions in one game,
Right.
Especially with what we was talking about earlier about all the pressure of this being the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and quite frankly, what another thing that scares me if Cincinnati understands how well, let's look at the Rams offense and how they've been able to be successful. Obviously, you got dynamic playmakers with Odell Beckham Jr. and Cooper Kupp. And obviously the tight end,
Tyler
Higbee.
Higbee. Yeah.
The reports I read, I think he's going to be highly questionable, to play in this game, which takes away another threat, a big target down the middle of the defense. So if the Bengals come out, a guy named, I Bleav his name is Mike Hilton, he's the nickelback for the Bengals.
Yeah.
If he can go out and minimize the damage that Cooper Kupp normally does to opposing defenses, I'm sure they're going to have a plan for him. If Matthew Stafford, if that option is taken away, obviously he has Odell Beckham Jr., but that's when we're really going to dive into. We're going to see if Matthew Stafford is dialed in, because if he starts forcing, to your point, he can't go out and try to force the ball to Cooper Kupp if it isn't there, because we know the big game, they're going to do everything they can. You can't stop him. You can minimize his impact on the game, but if he goes out and tries to force the ball and force it, that could be some problems waiting to happen. That could be problematic. But I do think not having his tight end there will change some things. But you got Sony Michel. You got Sony Michel and Cam Akers. You can decide to come out and run the football. So I think he has many weapons around him that can bail him out. He just doesn't need to screw it up himself.
Underrated grab by the Rams was Sony Michel.
Yes.
He was given up for dead in New England. I talk to New England guys all the time, people who cover New England, and New England fans were split, because former high draft pick, himself. Yeah. And they felt like, Harris and all them came in and they thought he was a bust. For the most
I love Sony Michel. I love what he brings.
And he brings physicality. I mean, he's not the fastest guy. He's not the biggest guy. But when he goes out there and he leaves it all on the field, you see it. He has that kind of Wolverine mentality of I'm just going to go right through you if I have to, you know.
And he's great at pass blocking. He's really, you don't have to take him off the field. He's good at pass pro. He's good out of the backfield catching the ball. Again, to your point, he's not the fastest, but he's going to give you everything his body can give you.
Exactly. And like I said, you've seen where there were games this year where Matt Stafford and the Rams relied heavily on him, to run the ball and get pass rush off of Matt Stafford, stuff like that. Right. And they do a very good job. And Cam Akers is no joke as a running back. He's pretty solid as well. And then you go flip on the other team. I mean, they got Joe Mixon.
Right.
Joe Mixon ain't no sneezing running back. He's not some guy that you just be like, he's just another one of those, dime a dozen running backs. No. Joe Mixon's just very similar, a bulldozing, but he's got some quickness to him.
Right.
Joe's got a little bit more quickness to him.
This is going to be an interesting game.
We talk about Matt Stafford and Joe Burrow, and that is the big story basically leading up to the Super Bowl. But how ironic would it be if it was the running backs on both these teams that took the game over, right?
Right. They're going to have an impact. They're definitely going to have an impact, whether it's in the run game or the pass pro game. They're going to have an impact. And more so Joe Mixon, because he's got to help that O-line. Yeah. There's no secret. This O-line has not been really great at pass protecting, but Joe Burrow has been great at off-scripted plays. And that's partly, in my opinion, due to the inability to them to really solidify that pass rushing or protecting the quarterback. So Joe Mixon is going to play a huge part in that. But I think this postseason, you look at the Bengals offense and how they've been successful because they know they obviously have an issue and they're going to have a monumental feat in stopping an Aaron Donald. He can literally take over a game by himself. the Bengals have realized what Joe Burrow does well. He gets rid of the ball. He doesn't hold on to the ball. He knows that's a problem in front of him. If his read isn't there, he's scrambling, he's moving around. He makes the proper read. So Zach Taylor and that offense they've done a great job of getting the ball out of his hands, and they're going to have to do a lot of that if they expect to be in this football game.
That's definitely for sure. And talking about all the potent offense on both sides of the field, what are the odds that a guy like what we already discussed, an Aaron Donald or a Leonard Floyd or a former Super Bowl MVP, Von Miller, could possibly grab an MVP, right?
Yeah.
It's quite possible with looking at the offensive line and the situation that the Bengals have.
Yes, I like this game because it's going to be one up front. The game is going to be one in the trenches. O-line, everyone's talking about how bad you are, how poorly you protected for Joe Burrow, but you still had a really good running attack with Joe Mixon. Obviously, the quarterback, Joe Burrow, has been effective, and now you're up against the creme de la creme of pass rushers. Von Miller has done it before. Aaron Donald wants that Super Bowl ring. We saw the impact he had in the championship game. His play was the one that made to seal the game. Sacking the quarterback and the quarterback, we've seen that play before, getting rid of the ball and end up turning to an interception. But this game is going to be one up front. You're right. I would not be surprised if one of these D linemen that we mentioned, Leonard Floyd, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, or even Jalen Ramsey, for Christ's sake, will make the biggest impact of this game, because Jalen Ramsey has been on record this week of saying he wants and he would welcome the matchup of following around Jamar Chase, because let's face it, you take away Jamar Chase, I don't know what this offense looks like from the Bengals standpoint, because they, out of every team in the National Football League, they have the most touchdowns of, I Bleav, 20 yards or more of any other team. So what that tells me is they rely heavily on those dynamic big chunk plays. And if Jalen Ramsey has been outspoken about it, hey, match me up on this guy. I'm the best at what I do. And he said that on record. I'm the best at what I do. Please match me up on this guy. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to that matchup. But in the end, it's going to come down to the trenches for sure.
I don't see it being a man coverage most of this game. The Bengals have a lot of really good receivers, and even tight end CJ Uzomah is most likely going to play. They've got good receivers, so I don't know if you play a lot of man or not, because Burrow is not shy of tucking that ball down and taking off with it also.
Yes.
So, but yeah, that's probably going to be the best matchup to watch this game. You hit on it. Jamar Chase, Jalen Ramsey. That's going to be a fun one right there, just to see if Chase can continue to dominate games like he has all season.
Right.
So,
I really think this is going to be this won't be a 16 or 19 type of game. I think there's going to be a significant amount of points scored in this game. Whether it be lopsided or not, I think that Zach Taylor's going to come up with a great plan to combat what Aaron Donald and that defensive front, how they can cause havoc. And what do you do with a D line, a D line that can take over a game? You screen them to death, you draw them to death, you run some hurry up offenses, you get them tired. And they're going to have to come up with a great game plan for this team, because clearly if they gain that momentum early and Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay has time to dial up plays and with a cushion lead, it's going to be hard to stop them. But I do think Joe Burrow, they will not go quietly. They're going to make it a dogfight for sure. Okay,
so for Joe Burrow, obviously we discuss his peace of mind is Jamar Chase. When on Matthew Stafford, his peace of mind is, well, it's no secret, it's Cooper Kupp. And what's more important than peace of mind? Nothing. And that's what NordVPN is here, to give you peace of mind while you are online. And with all the threats that you face today on the internet, it's more important than ever to be sure that you have the best VPN you can get. NordVPN is the world's best VPN service, offering the fastest connectivity, most servers, and next-gen encryption to make sure that everything you do online stays secure. Plus, you can use NordVPN on all of your computers and devices, no matter the operating system. With NordVPN's unlimited bandwidth, you never have to worry about a slow connection either. And plans start for under $4 a month. So go grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/Bleav or use the code Bleav. That's BLEAV to get up to 70% off your NordVPN plans plus one additional month for free. And it's also risk-free because Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. I wish we could get a 30-day money-back guarantee for the Colts. I'm just saying that would have been awesome. Football should have a mulligan. Yes, every team should have one game where they go, that's a mulligan. We get to replay that. Replaying the Jacksonville game.
Yeah, Colts could use a few mulligans this year.
Right.
Man.
So looking at this game, there's a lot of looking at the Cincinnati Bengals injury report. We haven't yet to see much of the Rams injury report. We'll get to that in a second, but there's some questionable guys. You talked about it earlier. Cam Sample, their edge rusher, has a groin injury. He's questionable for the game. CJ Uzomah, who is so important to this team.
Yeah,
he's got that knee problem. Josh Topo, I can't pronounce
Don't
it.
ask me.
Tupou. That's an interesting name. Yeah. I'd love to get someone. Hey, I'll tell you what. If you're watching this on YouTube and you know how to pronounce that name, phonetically spell it for us in the chat. I'd appreciate it. But he has a knee problem. He's questionable. Stanley Morgan, the wide receiver, and also Jackson Carman, a guard. Yeah, you can't have an already questionable offensive line with injuries on that offensive line. That's not good.
No.
But you got guys, you got two guys for the Rams that haven't even practiced yet this week, and that's Joe Noteboom, an offensive lineman, and then you touched on it. Tyler Higbee has yet to because of that knee injury he's got.
Yeah, I've had a sprained knee before, and a sprained knee is a sprained MCL, and the only way to recover from that, Lawrence, is rest, and that's probably about a 3 to 4 week recovery period, and this was only 2 weeks that he's been out. So in my opinion, I think he's highly unlikely to play. And that's going to be a huge blow for the offense, for the Rams. But there's a guy that which I think right now he's currently the oldest player in the National Football League. Obviously, because Tom Brady retired, is Andrew Whitworth. Andrew Whitworth, that's my guy. I played against him for many years, for 8 years over in Cleveland when he was with Cincinnati. And that's another storyline that the guy's just been a consummate pro. He's been such a stalwart at the offensive tackle position for I want to say his 16th year. And so for him to be playing in the Super Bowl and to play his former team has to be a bittersweet moment. But I do think if he can pull this off, if the Rams can pull this off, what better way to go out than to go out with a Super Bowl ring and go out retired and beat your former team that gave up on you pretty much. So I had to throw that out there because he's been there was something else I read about Andrew. So apparently last year he had gotten injured, and obviously Joe Burrow had gotten injured as well. He tore his ACL, I Bleav, right? And they were rehabbing in the same location in California. And Andrew and Joe Burrow spent a lot of time together. So much so they were hanging out with each other during their birthdays. And basically Whitworth developed this relationship with Joe Burrow. So it's just the degrees of separation in the NFL is very small, and it's just, during the Super Bowl you hear all these different storylines, and I thought that was interesting. to bring up that a guy that's 40 years old and playing for the opposing team is actually mentoring the quarterback on the other side of the football field. So thought it was an interesting story. A lot of good things come out of the Super Bowl and some of the relationships that some of these guys form.
Absolutely. You see it a lot. I mean, different types of relationships that form, and guys still stay connected well after they'd still be playing or not playing. It doesn't matter, and you're still connected. So that's really cool. That's the beautiful thing about sports, is because you do create a lot of different relationships with a lot of different people that are a lot of them are like lasting relationships.
Yeah, no
right?
doubt. Oh, man, a lot of my friendships have come from just within the locker room. You just you have an appreciation for, you look to your left, you look to your right, and the guys are, have given just as much as you have, if not more. And so there's a gentleman's respect that comes with it. And it's a big fraternity. Normally my wife and we're normally at the host city of the Super Bowl. It's a really fun time for any former and current player that's not playing in the big game. It's a way to connect with the generations of players. I remember the first time I had taken my wife to a Super Bowl. We were on the elevator with Brett Favre, and it was the first time I had met him. So it was like I shook his hand, took a picture with my wife, and we get to this players legends lounge where only former and current players are allowed, or your significant others or family. So it's a big deal, food, drinks, television screens, and sitting next to us is Troy Aikman. And my wife is a diehard, Washington Commanders fan, and her wife her family is, but it's like, go say something. It's all family, and like this is a moment where you can take pictures with some of these, household name players that we've grown up watching. And everyone was extremely nice. And we saw Icky Woods there. We took a picture with it. I mean, it was just, that was a moment that I was like, listen, this is a big fraternity. Anyone that's in this room right now is football affiliated, and they're okay with taking photos, and we, respect each other's boundaries. So it was a great time. It's always a great time to connect. I met players from the 60s and just talking about some of the challenges they had to deal with from a football standpoint. You had to have multiple jobs back then. This wasn't what it is now, so just connecting with guys, going to golfing events, different events of Nike and what have you. It's really a fun time. And this year we decided not to go, but obviously the Super Bowl is the cherry on top. And it's just a great moment. That's when you realize when you played this game and how many people love it and enjoy it. And the former players, they're here to help.
Yeah. This channel is proudly sponsored by the Backroom Collection. They do beautiful sports canvas art with football, basketball, baseball, and other sports themes. Special orders are accepted and autograph pieces are available. Many Indianapolis Colts signed pieces will be available beginning in November. Just use your discount code CL10 to purchase the pieces you want to spice up your living area. That's CL10. Man, you brought up Icky Woods. I remember Icky Woods. Right, left, right, left, spike. Yeah, the shuffle, baby. All right. Hey, former Bengals. I'm sure he's, all about this game. There, if you follow the Rams, if you're rooting for the Rams, there is a positive note in the injury report right now. Safety Tyler Rapp did have a full practice Wednesday off of that concussion that he had earlier against the 49ers. So usually that is a good sign. You got to have that full practice off a concussion before medical can come in and, release you to be able to play. So that's always a good sign. definitely you want your best safety out there, right? I mean, come on now, against Joe Burrow and that passing attack, you're going to need Rap out there. I think it's about time for us to give our predictions for this game, man.
Okay, you want me to go first?
I think I will go ahead and give you the floor.
All right. So I've been going back and forth with this one because I think everyone roots for the underdog. Here I am saying the underdog team. Everyone likes a good story. I think Joe Burrow is all of that, right? He's a first pick of the draft. Right now, he's the only first pick of the draft to take his team to a Super Bowl in his second year. He's from Ohio. He grew up somewhat rooting for the Bengals. It's just a really fascinating story from the Bengals standpoint. 2 years ago, they were 2-14, which allowed them to go pick Joe Burrow first overall. You look at the other side, Matthew Stafford, many wasted years in Detroit. No one would disagree. His talent, his arm talent was always there. He hadn't lost any velocity. It was a matter of him just getting the right coach, the right scheme, and the right players around him. He's done that. So, however, I just have to go off sheer just volume of players and just impactful players. When you look at, I'm going to name these names, right? Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Floyd, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, Van Jack. I mean, there's just so many players on the Rams side, on the Rams team, that it's hard for me not to root for them. Ultimately, that was the deciding factor for me. I think the Rams are going to have too much firepower in the end. My prediction of the game, let's say 35-28. I think it'll be somewhat close. I think we're going to see it's going to be an entertaining game. But I just think the Rams in the end will just have too much firepower from an offensive standpoint, and too much heat and pressure from the D-line standpoint that's going to stifle the Joe Burrow's attack and really neutralize him throwing the ball down the field with Jamar Chase.
Now, looking at those numbers, that's all touchdowns. There are no field goals in those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
35-28. No field goals there. Okay, so I agree. You kind of gravitate a little bit towards the underdog situation going on here. You always like to root for the underdog, but at the same time, you got to feel good. Cincinnati is a team that's still young. They're inexperienced. They're still building the team. The fact that they're even here is just a testament to the leadership around that team right now. That's just, it's amazing. And they're going to have multiple opportunities in the future to do this again. Multiple, right? They're going to be fighting, of course, with the Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City and Josh Allen in Buffalo for years to come. It's going to be an amazing thing to watch. But I agree with you. I feel like there's too much power on both sides of the balls on the Rams for the Bengals to win this game. Just the defense is good at getting pressure. This is not the Kansas City Chiefs that they're playing against. Okay. Joe Burrow's going to have problems against some of this pass rush. Okay. He thought that he had a bad time against the Titans. Ew. Just wait and watch. All right. No offense to the Titans. They got a great pass rush this year. They did. I mean, Simmons and Harold Landry and the guy that they brought over, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they had a good pass rush, had 9 sacks against them and all that, but and honestly should have won that game. But the Bengals and Joe Burrow found a way through. I don't think it's going to happen this time. I really don't. If Ramsey, like we talked about, best corner in the league, or self-proclaimed best corner, most likely he's definitely top 3,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
definitely top 3, and he's going to make things difficult between Burrow and Chase. He's not always going to be open to throw to him and be that safety blanket to get rid of the football. He's going to have to rely on Boyd and Higgins and other guys as well. So, and on the flip side, and he's going to have to do that with all the pressure in his face. So
Right.
that's going to be a problem. On the flip side, okay, the Bengals defense is okay. I don't see them as something absolutely fantastic. DJ Reader was a good grab. Trey Hendrickson, that's their man. But again, you got a good question here on the Mike Hilton thing. Can Mike Hilton step up and do something?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, Cooper Kupp's just Cooper Kupp, man.
Right.
My goodness, that's like trying to. It's kind of like trying to stop Deebo Samuel. The same aspect.
Right. You can't stop him. You can just minimize the damage, and his damage is, yeah. He has a tall task ahead of him.
Yeah,
Mike Hilton.
I see the Rams scoring a lot in this game, just like what you had. Not quite as much. I got 34 points rather than 35. I got 2 field goals in there. Okay. And
I went all touchdowns.
Yeah, you went all touchdowns. I got 34-24. That's my score. Rams over the Bengals.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think we've watched a lot of football in our days. You've played a little bit and you've covered football for a very long time. I've never seen a team just be able to neutralize a pass rush. It's just hard for me to, and I feel like it's just hard for me to root against those guys. It's just too much firepower. There's too much production, too much proven production on the Rams side of the ball. I just think the experience, like you mentioned, the experience is going to kick in.
Yeah.
The last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, that's when Aaron Donald comes alive. He's been alive the whole game, but he finds a way to beat a double team. And it's like the guy gets better as the game goes on. And he can't be stopped. And this isn't like the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs, obviously they have Chris Jones. They have some guys that can get after the passer. But a lot of those sacks were manufactured. Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, and Aaron Donald can beat you man on man. They don't need a scheme. They can beat a double team. They can beat you one-on-one. And that is problematic for the entire Bengals offense. So, yeah, I'm going with all touchdowns. I got to stick to it. I have to stick to it. But I think we wore the shirt for the right reasons. We're on the same page when it comes to predictions. So I'm leaving it at that.
The experience is a big thing. Von Miller, you talk about, Joe's a big, strong quarterback, and he can be tough to bring down. Von Miller was the MVP of a Super Bowl against somebody who was the MVP of the season, who we all can say was one of the biggest, strongest, most athletic quarterbacks in the NFL that the NFL has ever seen up to that point. And he made him look like a little baby during that game. All right. Because he had his way with Cam Newton.
Yes.
So and then you talk about it. You have to double and triple team Aaron Donald all the time. And once that happens, then you're leaving Leonard Floyd and Von Miller one-on-one. And against the offensive line of the Bengals, and you got those guys one-on-one against those tackles.
Yeah.
Man, that's just a scary situation.
It really is.
Guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, please, in the chat, drop your predictions for the Super Bowl. If you are listening on your podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, please make sure you download it, share this, and come over to YouTube, click on it. Let us know your prediction as well there. All right. And don't forget to share, hit the like button if you watch on YouTube as well. It kind of helps us out on analytics. We really appreciate it. Any closing thoughts, Jack D'Qwell?
Some people call me Jack. So I think for me, normally for the Super Bowl halftime, I'm actually going to pay attention and watch the concert, because most of the time they have, the Beyoncés, like all the women get up for the halftime show, which I get. It's a brilliant marketing. I get it. But I'm actually looking forward to the halftime show and the performance of Dr. Dre. It's like anytime you're in California, it's like the NFL knows it. You have to let Snoop Dogg know about it. And so it's just, I've seen him in concert once before. He's a great entertainer, and I'm looking forward to, obviously, the game, everything we talked about. I'm looking forward to the actual game, but I'm definitely going to be looking forward to the halftime show for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that Family Affair will be sang in this Super Bowl. But I'm just saying, because that it's that song that is so popular, and just and rolls with the whole Super Bowl theme. I think. Actually, the last time I watched a Super Bowl halftime show, it actually changed my opinion on somebody. I never watched a Katy Perry. I was always like,
oh yeah,
Katy Perry.
That was legendary. That was.
I love that changed my opinion of Katy Perry. I'd never watched any of her stuff. I was like, that's a teeny bop girl, right? I don't watch teeny bop girls. And then I saw that halftime show and I was like, she's good.
Yeah, my son really loves what's the song? Crap. Firework? Is it Firework?
Yeah. Something like that.
Every day for drop off is either Katy Perry, or Pink, the Rockstar song. My son loves it. He loves it.
There you go.
There we go.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This was Bleav in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. I'm Lawrence Owen. That's D'Qwell Jackson. And until next time, as usual,
go Colts.
Go Colts.